Heart to Heart with Abba Heart to Heart with Abba. Hello and welcome to Heart with Abba, a podcast in honor of celebrating families and everything about children, beginning with us. Confidently, this will inspire and encourage us to listen, defend, and advocate for our infants, toddlers, preschoolers, school age children, teenagers, and all children from across the board to help us see the world from their perspectives and offer support throughout their stages of development. Celebrate! Heart to Heart with Abba is sponsored by Stop Smart, your one-stop destination for staffing and non-medical concierge services for adults, teens, and children. For more information, I encourage you to visit www.staff-smart.org and by phone 480-875-6871. Listening to Heart with Abba, a podcast dedicated to celebrating families and everything about children, beginning with us. I'm your host, Abby Dominguez. Today, I bring you an inspirational heart to heart with Jenna Udenberg. She is an accessibility educator, disability activist, author of Within My Spokes, and founder of the nonprofit organization Above and Beyond with You. Jenna, thank you for visiting me today on Heart to Heart with Abagaba. I am conversing with you from Mesa, Arizona. Please tell our listeners where we are connecting from and share a short bio.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Abigail. So I'm coming to you from Two Harbors, Minnesota. It is on the beautiful shores of Lake Superior on the North Shore. A quick bio about me. I am a manual wheelchair user. I've been using a wheelchair for 37 years. I was diagnosed with juvenile arthritis at age 7, and I was in a wheelchair by age 8. Lived, born, and raised in Two Harbors my whole life. Went away to university in Duluth, which is about 30 miles away, and received my double bachelor's in music education. So I was a K-12 music educator for about 19 years, both in a private parochial school and then in a public school setting, as well as a charter school setting. Loved elementary general music, loved beginning band, loved choir, all the things. So it was great teaching. And then thanks and unthanks to the pandemic, I am in a disability retirement. And so that's where my disability advocacy and founding Above and Beyond with You, writing my book Within My Spokes, and becoming a 2020 Bush Fellow all kind of fell in my lap all at the same time. So just a really cool, quick snippet about my life, but excited for our time together to get to know each other.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much for sharing your story with us. I am so impressed. And I want to know about your book. Was writing a memoir, so was it difficult writing a memoir?
Parts of it really were tricky, right? When you, I guess it depends on how deep you want to go and what you're sharing with a worldwide audience.
Yeah,
But I always feel like our lives are stories that are meant to be shared, and
yeah,
it's meant to build community and empathy and just better human beings and
yeah.
just all the things. And all of our stories are important, whether they're, whether we as the holder of the story feel like they're impactful or inspirational or beneficial. Most times we don't feel that way, but it's that human connection that gives it that impact that we all just need to hear and receive and figure out, how do we learn from each other and move forward.
I love that. I love that you mentioned human connection. That is so deep. And could you please tell us about your nonprofit organization, how it was started, and anything you want to share with us about it?
So Above and Beyond with You, it literally means, so the Americans with Disability Act, or ADA, was created in 1990. And so many people just feel like it's just a set of rules or a set of codes, and it's the bare minimum of what we need to do. And that's not true. The spirit of the ADA is that we go above and beyond, and it's about making sure that disabled people are safe
Yeah,
and included within community, that it's not just here's a checklist, but
Yeah.
here are lives that are impacted by it. So that's where the above and beyond come from. And then with you, my last name is Udenberg, and you can imagine little 4 and 5 year old kindergartners trying to say Miss Udenberg in the music classroom.
Yeah.
So I shortened that to be Miss U. So it's above and beyond with capital U as a nod to my
Oh,
music education
I
career.
love that. Oh,
And it's also about the belief because our nonprofit, we have a board of 9 folks, and all of them are connected to education in some way, shape, or form. And so that just really shows who and what we're about. And we're about going along in the journey of making things more accessible and more inclusionary. It's not just a one-time, let's do a site assessment or let's just meet and have that conversation, right? But how do we make that relationship? How do we continue to move through the journey of accessibility and inclusion and making better humans as we go about our everyday life?
I love that. I heard you mention that you've been in a wheelchair for 36 years, I believe.
Yes. Yep,
Yes,
37. I just had my
37.
anniversary, so a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I love your joy and your spirit and your positivity about it. Could you please do you mind sharing with us when you became in a wheelchair and how the journey has been like for you?
Yeah, so my story started as a little girl. I remember a day I was getting ready for school. I believe it was first grade.
Uh-huh.
And I was in the goldenrod colored bathtub in my parents' house.
Yeah.
Dates me
Oh.
back to the, late 80s, right?
Uh-huh.
And playing bubble bath time, all the stuff, and my right knee floated to the top of the bubbles and it
Oh.
was big, like bigger than a
Oh.
softball.
Oh.
And I then let my left knee float up to the surface and it was a typical little 7-year-old knee, less than a tennis ball.
Mhm.
And what does any little girl do? But you scream for mom, right? Because
Yes,
moms can fix everything.
everything.
And so the story goes that my parents brought me to the local general practitioner, a family doctor,
Uh,
who actually delivered me. And he's like, your daughter looks like she has water on the knee. And my
oh,
dad, who was a volunteer ambulance driver for several years with our local small community, said, my 7-year-old daughter doesn't have an athlete's disease because it wasn't like I was out running the bases or fell on the
mhm.
basketball court or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we got a second opinion in our small town, and he immediately looked at me and the blood work and said, I think your daughter has juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and I need to send you to a rheumatologist in Duluth.
Mhm.
And I met that doctor and he was very nice. But he said that I had to go down to the Mayo Clinic down in Rochester, Minnesota, because in 1988, that's when Lyme's disease was a big thing that was starting with the deer tick population.
Yeah.
And a lot of those symptoms mirrored juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. So I had to go to Mayo and go through the onslaught of all of the tests I had already done in Duluth and
Yeah.
more to rule out that it wasn't Lyme's disease.
Uh-huh.
Lots of not good stories as a, little 7-year-old girl having
Yeah.
to get pressured by rad techs that were like, you need to drink this barium because we need to take pictures of your belly and you need to do this
Right.
right now because it's on my schedule and I'm adulting and I have power over you. And yeah, then my dad came into play and then yeah, that guy stopped pressuring me after dad had to
Good.
step in to
Good.
to protect his baby cub.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and then it was tricky too because a little 7-year-old, Mayo Clinic, especially at that time, had way more doctors that had English as their second language, which is totally cool. But as a little 7-year-old, you're like, number one, you're using big words that are medical that I have no idea what you're saying.
Yes.
And your accent is cool, but I have no idea what you're even
What it
saying,
means.
let alone the words that you're using anyways. So, but you
Yeah.
gave me a lollipop and a sticker, so I guess it's okay. And then you come back to your doctor up here and he's like, yeah, you can still have a lollipop and a sticker, but things are not okay. So, really painful, lots of swelling, lots of joint deformities, lots of
Mhm.
just not being able to be like other kids.
Yeah.
And by age 15, I was making life and death decisions, which I was very thankful to my parents to allow me to do that because ultimately it is my life. But I started making decisions about having joint replacements. So within a matter of, oh gosh, 6 years from 1996 to 2002,
Uh-huh.
I had six joint replacements and a couple revisions.
Wow.
So I had probably close to 10 surgeries within 6 years. So I could never fully heal from one before another thing broke or another thing became unstable.
Yeah.
So it took a lot, but I always say that I'm very grateful that I was disabled at a younger age because I just don't know any different.
Hmm.
Unlike, when people acquire their disabilities later in life.
Yeah.
Um, and yet it was hard, right? Like I was always the one that stood out, and even within disability culture and community here, I also stood out because, like, yes, I had an IEP, but it was all about physical things.
Physical,
Jenna
yeah.
will have help carrying books from class to class. Jenna will have help getting to the band room. Jenna will have help getting to the restroom, those kinds of
Yeah.
things. Because
Yeah.
of course, none of the student bathrooms were accessible, so I had to
Mhm.
go to the faculty female bathroom, which was on only one floor, and we had a freight elevator with a slidey door.
Aw.
So, there's just lots of things to overcome and lots of attitudinal barriers,
Hmm.
shall we say.
Yeah.
Lots of staff members saying, well, why are we doing all this work for one kid?
Oh
Why does
man.
this one person matter? Why are we moving the band over to our elementary school when this kid doesn't even have to be in band? And then, as you know from my bio, like I became a band teacher. So, like, there was a reason
Nice.
why you were doing all this for one kid,
Oh
quote
yes.
unquote.
Oh yes. There was. Every
So,
child matters. Yes.
absolutely. So,
Oh.
the one thing that I loved in my career was being able to start an adaptive music class and worked with our speech language pathologist.
Hmm.
And it was just amazing having K5 kiddos. Actually, we had two separate classes. We could do like a K2 and then a 3-5. And we would work together on like their IEP goals in our adaptive music class using the music and the activities and the things that the kids would be doing in the general music education class.
Hmm.
And it was just so amazing. Those kids and those families just taught me so much
Oh.
about just music, about life, about like we're all in this together. It was
Yes.
just amazing. And we had a student who was nonverbal in speaking one time. We had an open house and we were singing the song of oh, Skinnamarink-a-dink-a-dink,
Get him a ring.
Skinnamarink-a-doo. I
I love
love
him.
you. Right. And so we were doing that as part of our little program. And this kiddo who had never talked or sang before looked at his parents and his grandma and he sang,
Oh,
I love you. And he
he
had never
sang.
done that before,
Oh.
never told his parents. And I think he was like a second grader, first grader at the time. So
Oh.
imagine as a mom, never hearing your kid say, I love you. And then all of a sudden at this music open house kind of thing with just a small group of people.
Oh.
Yeah, I still get goosebumps talking about this story because it
Oh.
was just like, and me as a teacher, I had no idea until the backstory came out later, like, oh, okay, let me go clean off my face
Oh.
because this is amazing. But
I
yeah,
love
so
that.
I just love sharing that story because it's like, when we give people the support that they need,
Yes.
they can feel safe and they can thrive and they can just be themselves and you can just make memories in ways that you would never think possible. So I just love sharing that. So thanks for giving me that opportunity because
Yes. That was a powerful story. Thank you so very much for sharing that.
and many times it's just up to us as adults to get the adult obstacles out of kids'
Mm.
ways, right?
Yes.
Like that's
Yes.
our job.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Oh, and I wanted to ask you, so with all the challenges that you had in your life, what motivated you to grow and move forward?
That's a great question. I would say my faith is a huge part. Like I wouldn't be where I am today without that for sure.
Oh, yes.
I would also say, in my book, I talk a lot about the tapestry. So it's not just Jenna's story, but it's a story of all of my loved ones, whether
Yes.
they're biological family or chosen family or spiritual family or all mixed together. Um, and there's just so much to learn. I feel like I'm definitely a lifelong learner. And I'm thankful for that, even though some days that can be very frustrating because I'm a type A personality as well. So it's like,
It's all
I,
good.
even though I keep saying it's about commitment and not a checklist, sometimes I really just like a good old checklist to be like, I'm done for the day. Um, but yeah, and I think it's just those relationships that really got me through some really hard times. And yet those are like the deepest, most amazing, colorful, fun, textured part of my tapestry.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's the relationships, the human connections, the
Hmm.
faith that helps us to go through challenges and help us to thrive. I just love that. In our culture, sometimes talking about disability may seem uncomfortable. Why is disability not a bad word?
Because at some point we're all impacted by it.
Yes.
And we have so isolated and created that word to be negative in so
Yes.
much of our society.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying not to politicize that, but people can figure that out on their own
Yes. Yes.
in the world that we are in currently.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so tired of being othered. I'm so tired of the pity thing, and
Yeah.
this is newer stuff for me. I mean, I grew up in rural Minnesota. There's a handful us full of us folks that use wheelchairs at, ages of children. Um, you're very isolated. And so I didn't get a chance to truly embrace disability culture and community just because
Mhm.
of the geographic location.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for what I did have exposure to, but I'm still trying to unlearn the very ableist scripts that I grew up around. And some of
Mhm.
it's through no fault of anyone's own. It's just if you don't have that experience. But now it's like, we're in the 21st century.
Yes,
We have the
people.
internet, we have social media, we have all these things. And it's like, why are we still being othered? No matter what our quote unquote difference is,
Mhm.
we are all humans. We all have the same
We're,
basic needs. We all
yes,
have the need and the creation for community and
yes,
being connected and belonging.
yes.
And why are disabled people still feeling like we're under the table and we should just be grateful for the scraps that happen to fall on the floor,
No,
right?
no.
Like, why, like Judy Human, I love her quote. I'm going to butcher it, but folks can go and look it up. Like you always make sure that there's spaces around the table for all the stakeholders to make sure that all different parts of minority cultures are covered,
Yeah.
but nobody checks to see if the table's accessible.
Mhm.
And I was like, ooh, that's an ouch, right?
Yeah.
Um, and disability can mean a whole different slew of things. And so
Yeah.
many people, like, working with the aging population or the older adult population, so often they don't even want to say that word either, right? Oh, I'm just getting older. Oh, I have arthritis. Oh, my
Right.
hands don't work as well as they used to.
Right.
And it's like, it's okay because you're just one diagnosis, one
Hmm.
accident, one
Hmm.
genetic pull of the straw
Yeah.
away from joining the most diverse and most amazing community. But so many people come into it kicking and screaming
Hmm.
because we've treated it as this very negative label,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
not.
And it's not. It's really not. I mean, Jenna, look at, I mean, your bio is so impressive. You school education you've had, giving back. What's not like I'm so inspired by your story. You've done amazing. You're doing amazing. And to give back, that's huge. So I'm so thankful to be learning from you today. I'm thankful to be speaking to you today. The joy in your voice, the positivity you bring to the show and to my life is so incredible. Thank you so very much for sharing.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
I wanted to ask you, why is accessibility and inclusion important?
I would say that all of us want to be in community, right? All of
Yes,
us want to be a part of our families. All of us want to be a part of the things that we choose to be a part of.
yes.
And so often folks with disabilities are left out of so much of it, and so many non-disabled folks just think that that's okay.
Mhm.
you know again, because we're at that 5-year anniversary mark of COVID. In the last couple of days, I've seen memories on my socials of, oh, you can't go out to your favorite restaurant tonight. Oh, you can't go to work. Oh, you can't go to your friend's birthday party. Oh, like the whole list of things that we, like, as a whole globe
Yeah,
struggled with not being able to go to, right?
yeah,
And then the tagline is, welcome to the everyday life of disabled people.
yeah.
And so my biggest hope is, like, can we remember, and I know as human beings we have that capability, so can we remember with our minds and our hearts and our spirits what those things felt like,
Mhm.
and realize that that's the everyday life of so many people. And when
Yes.
24 to 29% of the American population identify as being disabled, like, that's huge. And then that's
Mhm.
also them choosing to be disabled. So in our previous part of our conversation, when we're like, hey, disability is not a bad word, but many of us think it is,
Mhm.
like, we know that our culture and our community is much larger than
Mhm.
24 to 29%
Mhm.
of the American population. And so all of our lives are touched by it every single day, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
And by making it accessible and inclusive for disabled people, you're making it more accessible and inclusive for children, more accessible and inclusive for older adults, more accessible and inclusive for mothers who are pushing strollers. Like, and I want to be very clear that although it's great that things are accessible and more inclusive and using universal design,
Mhm.
for everyone, that should not be the impetus of why agencies, organizations, businesses, industry choose to do it.
Yeah.
Because, like, the disabled life should be of worth and of value enough
Oh, yes.
that we go and do it anyways.
Yes.
But so often we get swept up. And that's why I'm like, oh, I just said the whole stroller analogy. And I'm like, yeah. And I used to believe that hook, line, and sinker when I was, like, super, like, into the non-disabled version of how I grew up. And I'm like, no, wait, it doesn't matter. Like, yay, a mom with a stroller or a dad with a stroller or a human with a stroller can go and use that curb cut. That's awesome. And yet, even if it was for one wheelchair using child in your community, that is worth it. That
Yeah.
child is worth it.
Yeah.
So I love the word and, right? I'm not a
Yeah.
big fan of buts, B-U-T, but I'm a big fan of and.
And it makes such a huge difference.
Yep,
Yeah. The BUT has a negative, can have a negative connotation and it's more inclusive. So I really
right.
like that. Yeah. We still have a long way to go. How how can we teach our children to be more inclusive and to be more, or people or adults or anybody to be more to be respectful and inclusive of using the term disability and inclusive. That's
Yeah, and to be honest, I would say I probably would flip it around, because it's us as adults that get in the way. Preschoolers are like, hey, you got the purple crayon, I have a red crayon. Oh, you need red? Oh, I need purple. Let's switch. Or they're
yeah.
like, hey, you've got this skin color and I've got that skin color. I don't even notice it because you're like my height and we're doing all the same things. And you're like, you're my twin because we're the same height. And you're
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
we as the adults are like,
yeah.
but you can't be. And it's like, but you can. And just same thing, like, oh, you're a walking 3-year-old. Oh, that 3-year-old's in a wheelchair, or has a walker, or has hearing aids, or a cochlear implant, and kids are just like, whatever, dude, you've got the truck and I want to play with the truck. And hey, let's
I
play with the
love
trucks
that.
together because we can go and get dirt in our trucks and make the teacher
Yes.
mad, but we don't care because we don't know that that's bad. So it's really the adult constructs of
It is.
it.
It really is. It really is.
And I would say as adults, like being mindful of the other adults who are around. So like another good story for me is one of my college friends, she adopted three boys, but when she
Uh-huh.
had two boys, no, one boy, the oldest, they were at Target and they were shopping, and the
Uh-huh.
little 2-year-old was like, wheelchair, wheelchair, trying to say this new word. He had just seen me the weekend before, and I'm his only auntie in a wheelchair,
Uh-huh.
and the lady that was in the chair got so offended and like started yelling at my friend. And my friend was like, he's
Oh,
2. He has an auntie who uses a wheelchair. He got
yes.
excited because he thought you
Yes.
might have been his auntie
Right,
and
right.
you're not, and he's not. And she just like lit into my friend, and like it didn't matter that my friend was trying to explain it. And so it
Oh.
is hard because I mean, like I said, being a child in a wheelchair, going through all of life, I've had to mature really quickly, and I'm a veteran wheelie, as I would call myself. So it's like, I've accepted that, but
Yeah,
all of us are in a different part of our journey with our disability. And so
I love
it's,
that. Thank you for saying that. Yes, I truly believe that.
yeah, so it's just having that awareness and being able to slow down, right? I think all of our issues in society come to we're all fast paced, we're all little islands bumping into each other. We're not taking the time, we're not building relationships, we're not being authentic, we're not being honest,
Hmm.
and we're not like exposing ourselves to others.
Yes,
So therefore we're not learning and continuing to learn how to communicate and be a part of this greater thing called community. So I think
yes.
just the more that we can learn from kids and also have
Learn from kids. Yeah,
real conversations,
real
not just like, oh,
conversation.
don't point, oh, don't look, don't don't stare. It's like,
Yeah.
do you have a question? And I have a good kindergarten teacher friend of mine who's always like, oh, we don't touch Miss Jenna's chair unless Miss Jenna asks us to. Do you have a question about her chair? Do you want to say something that you like about her chair? And she just has a great way of like opening up a conversation at the right mentality level for both engaged participants.
I love that.
So, yeah, so it's just breaking it down and making it a personable conversation.
If we can all have the hearts of children and just be like them and to
Right.
include and embrace and to celebrate and not just like, yeah,
Right. And
like
kids don't have all the labels, at least most
they
kids, right?
don't,
They're
they
just like,
don't.
let's go play, let's go eat a snack, let's go watch our favorite cartoon. Oh, let's
Yeah.
go eat some dirt, right? Like
Yes, yes.
like let's go figure out the world together. So, yeah.
Yeah, I heard of a story that said that if you tell a child to say, "Oh, can here's a balloon, don't let it go." The minute you said don't let it go, he or she
They
will
let
let the
it go.
balloon go. If you say, "Can you take care of this balloon for me?" Oh, they're gonna guard it with all their heart, like hold it tight and guard the balloon with your life.
Yep.
So if we can just adult avoid the don't, but more teach and be open to be teachable, then we can all coexist and have a beautiful world. And have more positivity in our world.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
and I love the word hold, right? Like we hold each other's dignity in our
Yes.
hands and in our tongue. And we hold each other's importance and worth in our actions and in our tongue. So
I,
it's that being gentle and, like you just said, guarding with your life, even if they're a complete stranger and they're completely different than you. Like, let's hold them and hold space for them
yeah.
because they are worth a lot.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I love that. You say it so beautifully, Jenna. And I want to know, could you please share your website with us? Tell us the name of your book again, where we can find it. If you have any social media handles where we can follow you and know more about your nonprofit, your story, more about your story, feel free to drop all the handles and any information you want us to hear.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's like all of our handles are the same as our website. So above and is spelled out, even though I typically use an ampersand. But for all the text needs, it's above and beyond with you, and it's just you, not Y-O-U, but you.
Right.
So the website is just .org. We're on Facebook, we're on Insta, we're on LinkedIn. You can find my book, Within My Spokes by Jenna Udenberg at Amazon. And there's also a link on our website to get it as well. You can also find it on Ingram Sparks, so you should be able to find it on Barnes and Noble.
Love it.
And I'm hoping that my audiobook of it will be coming out this July. So
Oh,
keep an eye on the socials and the website if you're an audiobook kind of person.
I am an audiobook person. Yeah.
And it'll be read by me, so you'll get to hear my voice, whether that's good or
Oh,
bad.
that's
So
oh, Jenna, I can't wait. I cannot wait. That's truly wonderful, truly beautiful. And
yeah.
do you have any final thoughts to share with us?
Um, yeah, and so with the website you can find all of our different services that we offer, whether it's consulting or site assessments or just building a relationship with us. Um, and it's just the biggest thing is about being a conduit. Like our nonprofit really only focuses primarily on mobility disabilities because obviously I'm in a manual wheelchair as well as our president. But we want to be a conduit to all the other different parts of disability culture. And we want to make sure that we're not tokenizing any one type of disability or one need over
Mhm.
another by any means, but we just want to be that conduit. And I would say the last nugget is we just want to make sure that everybody's sharing their story because
Uh-huh.
everybody's story is important.
It is. I truly believe that. Oh, Jenna, it's been so wonderful having you today on Heart to Heart with Abagaba. I want to thank you so much again for visiting with me. And I commend you for all the wonderful work that you're doing. And thank you for sharing your light with us. Have a wonderful day. And I look forward to connecting with you again
That would be
someday.
great. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, Jenna. Have a fantastic day.
You too.
Heart to Heart with Abagaba is also sponsored by Aspire Behavioral Health. They offer monitoring, counseling, medication, and personal care services in a beautiful residential setting. I encourage you to contact them at aspirecbh@outlook.com or call 480-875-6871. Please feel free to share this podcast with your friends, families, and loved ones. And if you would like to connect with me, the best place would be on my website, abigailedominguez.com, or on social media. You can follow me on Instagram at author_Abigail_Dominguez. And we have a new YouTube channel at Heart to Heart with Abagaba. So please feel free to check us out also. And finally, I'd like to make a disclaimer that the stories and points of views we have shared on this podcast are personal and from our life and work experiences. We are not legal, medical, mental, or health advisors. Have an awesome day, and I look forward to connecting with you again on this platform. Be your light, be joyful, and as always, celebrate.